President are doing the same, you must notify the chairperson at this time. All right, seeing none. Clerk Scott, can we get a roll call of members, please?
Councillor Jarvis.
Here.
Vice President Gwynn.
Here.
Councillor Disorder.
Here.
Councillor Bottomley.
Here.
Councillor Bullock. I'll come back. President Gilmore.
Here.
Councillor Lepiansky. I'll come back. Councillor Mayo.
Actually, I don't think Councillor Lepiansky is going to join us tonight.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Mayo. Councillor Mayo, you are on mute. You're unmuted now. Councillor Mayo.
I see his mouth moving.
I can see it. Councillor Mayo, are you in attendance? Try your microphone, please.
He gave you a thumbs up.
Yes, I know. I can't hear you, Councillor Mayo, but I can see you are in attendance. Councillor Healy.
Here.
Councillor Elmer.
Here.
Councillor Forgy.
Here.
Councillor Ricketts.
Here.
Councillor Toronto.
Here.
Thank you. Councillor Bullock. I don't see that she's in attendance, but I will try to make a note and let you know when she arrives. Madam President, you have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Okay, next is the Pledge of Allegiance, and this part is voluntary. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. That goes a lot smoother in person to all of you new folks. All right, so before we dive in, I did want to let people know, especially those of you who are new, if you have any trouble following what's going on with the agenda, please feel free to stop me. Sometimes I get a little too excited and I go a little too fast. You're not going to hurt my feelings. Next, we're going to go through and approve the minutes. I understand that the new counselors were not on the council when these minutes were taken, so it would be appropriate for you to abstain. Counselors who are returning, hopefully will have a recollection and have reviewed the minutes. After that, we're going to go into communications from different town officials, and I'm going to try and lead in that way until folks get the hang of it. But like I said, please stop me if you have any questions. Does that sound good? Yes, Clerk Scott.
Councillor Bullock did arrive in the meeting.
Great. Okay. Oh, and another thing that I did want to mention, when counselors ask to speak, which right now it's not our turn to do that, please put your name in the chat. You can either put your name, you can write the word comment, question, something like that. Don't put your comment or your question in the chat. Just get my attention there. And I'm going to recognize people in the order that I see their names. And if I make a mistake and I mess up the order, please, by all means, let me know. So with that, do I have a motion to approve the December 15th, 2021 and January 3rd, 2022 City Council meeting minutes?
So moved, 4G.
Second, Ricketts.
Oh, great. Is there any discussion? All right. Seeing that, Clerk Scott, before I ask for a vote, since the new councilors were at the January 3rd meeting, do we want them to vote on those separately from the December minutes?
They are allowed to vote on the minutes.
Okay, great. Can we get a roll call vote then?
Yes.
Or we probably don't. Do you want to do a roll call since we're online? I'm sorry.
So the minutes are about the only one that you don't have to do a roll call on. The rest of the votes would need roll calls.
Okay. In that case, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Seeing none. Next, we have communications from the superintendent of schools and the school committee.
Hi, everybody. President Gilmore, Vice President Gwynn, everyone else, Clerk Scott, nice to see you all. Happy New Year. The superintendent has a prior commitment and won't be joining us tonight. So I'll have just a few things and then I'm happy to take your questions. We did our January meeting last Wednesday, the 12th, and we had our reorg meeting at that time. I was good or bad, reelected as chair. Then we have a change a little bit in the leadership. Vice chair will be Jean Wall this year, and our secretary will be Susan Ekstrom, who had been vice chair the previous 2 years. And very thankful to both of them for stepping up to help with the leadership of the school committee. Professional Development Day for our staff in the schools. There will be one on January 28th, so there's no school for students that day. The parent update for folks who are interested from the superintendent does have information, as does the materials from last week's school committee on the topics of that Professional Development Day. There's a number of things going on for staff at all levels. Hopefully a bunch of you, this is a little bit from the holiday season, but hopefully many of you were able to attend the pop-ups for the holidays that were done by our Beacon students. Those are Greenfield High School students who are in an alternative program that's housed at the GCC Downtown Center. There was a car detailing business that happened behind the Downtown Center for the students in the entrepreneurial class there. And there was also a bunch of artwork that they were had for sale, and it was a wildly successful event for those students. Also wanted to announce another great thing for the schools. Many of you likely know or have heard of Jim Fotopoulos. He is a former political science, I think the mayor told me, political science and history teacher in the schools. He's retired from teaching at Greenfield High School, and he's donated $1,000 towards the rehabbing of our elementary libraries in the schools, which is just an amazing donation. His wife, Vanita, has passed a few years ago, but she was also an instructional aide in the schools for many years. And they're great friends to the Greenfield Public Schools, and we're very grateful for his thoughtful donation. And we had another donation also from the Elks Club, dictionaries for 3rd and 4th grade students. There's about 500 dictionaries that are being distributed to our 3rd and 4th graders thanks to the Elks Club. I think I announced in December that we have a new high school principal. Derek Morrison began on January 3rd. He's already getting to know the students and the staff, and having I think a positive impact on the environment there. I have only anecdotal evidence from my 10th grader who says he's a-okay. So we'll go with that for now. But he's settling in for sure. And I can't remember if I talked in January. I don't think I did. We have a new food service director that we're really excited about. Greta Schwachman, I believe is how you pronounce her last name, has started. And one of the first things that she's done is implemented a grab and go meals program for our students who are homesick, and whether it's COVID or something else. But anyone can go to the middle school from 11:30 to 1 on weekdays and pick up grab and go meals for students who are sick at home, COVID or otherwise, which I just think is amazing. Once again, our food service folks just doing really cool stuff for our students. And I know that the superintendent does plan to be with us at your February meeting, and I'm sure she'll have budget updates and other more superintendent-y updates at that time. I don't want to give updates from her report because I would like for her to be able to answer questions. But certainly she and I both welcome if you have any questions at any time, just feel free to email and we're happy to talk to you. And I'll take questions at this time.
Great. I can see that Councilor Ricketts would like to speak. Before I allow that to happen, I just want to let councilors know that this is a time if you have a question regarding schools, feel free to put your name in the chat box, just like Councilor Ricketts did. All right, go ahead.
Okay. So first of all, I want to say that I watched the school committee meetings and I'm very happy with the reorganization of the school committee. Congratulations on doing this again. I'm
Thank you.
glad you're there.
Thank you.
You've had a lot of experience, you know.
Is that what they
losing
call
a-
it? Experience?
Yeah. Craziness. Yeah. Losing a superintendent, getting another superintendent, not knowing when that superintendent was actually going to leave and the new one come in. So you've done yeoman's work. I'm so proud of you. And I do like all the choices for the newer organization. Many thanks to the people that you just spoke of for the donations. Jim Fotopoulos is my heart, and that is really great. And I do want to say that I did read about the meal pickup for someone sick or they just can't make it for any reason. That is so huge in this community. So please extend lots of thanks for that.
Of
And
course, we'll do.
lastly, I just want to say I'm so sorry about your office at GCC.
Oh. Thank you, Councilor Ricketts, for all of your positive energy and your support of us. I appreciate that. Yes, and many of you may have heard what happened at JCC over the weekend. There was a burst sprinkler pipe and significant amount of damage. And I do work in the student financial services area there, and ours was unfortunately, the hardest hit area. Yeah, so it's not been a normal week for me, but we'll get through it. And yeah. So thank you for all of that. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
All right, does anyone else have any other questions for Chair Peretti? Okay, in that case, I'll let you go have your dinner.
Thank
you.
Thank you. We'll see you all next month. Take care.
Great. All right, and next we have communications from the mayor, city offices, and employees.
Good evening, counselors. Happy to be here again this evening. And I don't have a lot of updates. You have the 2 memos that I wrote you earlier this week and sent, I think, yesterday or perhaps the day before regarding both the PIP process and then some questions that Counselor Forgy had. So I'm happy to take questions on those if you have any additional questions. And also, beyond that, I would like to let you know that this week I began my discussions with department heads on the budget. And towards the end of the day today, I did send out an email to you regarding that. A picture that I took today of how we get budgets done when our quote unquote retired finance director is living in Indiana. So we've worked out the ability to have her on Google Meets for those budget meetings that she feels are important that she needs to be a part of. So the work continues, and it's really great to be able to have her join in those discussions. Normally, in the last 2 years, she would be sitting with me in person during those meetings as a general rule. 2020 was a bit of a challenge, I must say that, because of COVID, but we managed to work it out. So we're setting sail on this year's budget, and I would say the watchwords are increases from salaries because of the contracts that we negotiated, and continued level funding of the budgets as much as possible for each department in order to make all of the ends meet. The other thing that I'd like to let you know is on Wednesday, January 26th, there will, in addition to that email where I sent the picture that I took today, I mentioned, or I attached a document from the auditor's office. And that document was a report that she put out, Auditor Bump put out, based on discussions with communities in Western Massachusetts, and they selected Greenfield as one of them, which I was happy to have happened, and I participated fully in that, including sending pictures of our police station and many places in City Hall and so forth that desperately need funding, not just from the city, but from the state. It's time they stepped up to the plate. So on Wednesday, that report's very interesting. It will be an eye-opener. It's not something you need to read right away, but I think you would find it very interesting, all of you, in terms of how, first of all, the auditor and her office are recognizing the short shrift that we get out here when it comes time to give money out to the cities and towns of the Commonwealth. It is one of the first official acknowledgments that Western Massachusetts gets the short end of the stick. So on the 26th, I will be giving, I will certainly send in written testimony, but I will also do I will probably do spoken testimony for a hearing that Senator Comerford is holding on Senate Bill 2457. And that is an act creating a municipal and public safety building authority. This is something that's, of course, near and dear to my heart because we are certainly building a fire station, as we all know, and we are doing it all on the city's dime with no help from the state. We are fortunate to have the Massachusetts Library Building Commission that did give us the grant. And I began early on in my tenure to wonder why this state doesn't have such and we have the school building authority as well that funds schools. I began to wonder why we didn't have one for our municipal buildings and our public safety buildings, our fire stations and our police stations. I first had a conversation on that with Lieutenant Governor Polito in August of 20. And shortly thereafter, I was contacted by Auditor Bump's office that they were wanting to do an investigation and asked me if I would participate in that investigation based on what our needs were in the city of Greenfield. I did do that. So Senator Comerford and others have come forward with, as I said, Senate Bill 2457, an act creating a municipal and public safety building authority. And basically it is to begin what I think is probably going to be a long road, but nevertheless a very important road. And I will certainly keep you updated on it because I think counselors' voices will be very important too. To create a dedicated fund for assisting municipalities with the construction of municipal or public safety buildings. And I will be very happy to join in the other voices at that hearing on Wednesday, January 26th. So that's all I have for you right now. But happy to take some questions.
Great. So I do have a question from Councilor Bottomley, and if anyone else is interested, please indicate in the chat.
Yeah, I just have two questions, so bear with me. Many concerned citizens, including myself, are now part of a public involvement plan concerning the cleanup of the former Lunt Silversmith site. We literally have pages of questions on the cleanup effort. Mayor, tonight I just have two questions for you of what I consider the most pressing issues on the former Lunt site. You submitted a document to the City Council yesterday, which omits an important finding. On April 29th, 2016, OTO did indeed submit their abatement measure plan to the Mass DEP. However, they recommended, and this is quoting, due to vapor intrusion of TCE, end quote, a sub-slab depressurization be installed. In layman's terms, I do want to explain what that is. It's a fan underneath the building that blows the contaminated air into a pipe and vents out to the roof. This system has the potential to remove the TCE threat to zero. There was plenty of money left in the original budget to cover the installation of this system. So can you tell me why it was not installed and who made the decision instead to install the much less effective passive mitigation system that currently is in place? Sorry, that's a long one.
It certainly was. I do not have the answer to that question. I think that that is a question that's going to be very important to be asked at the public hearing on February 15th. So unfortunately, I can't answer that question for you tonight. I can certainly search through the records and see if I can't find the answer for you prior to the 15th. I'm happy to do that.
That's great. And my last question is, I definitely acknowledge the problematic Lunt remediation process was started by your predecessor, but now knowing that this SSDS could potentially eliminate exposure to TCE for those people working and being treated in the building, why would you not insist the system be installed immediately?
Again, I would have to have additional background on that system. I don't have access at the moment to, and I don't mean just tonight, but to all of the records. I can tell you that as we begin, and we're continuing to search for all of the records on the Lunt property, I don't have access to all of them. In other words, I have not found all of the files. There were certainly a great deal of files that were purged. When I say purged, I mean, you know, sent through the shredder as a way to, you know, by the previous mayor for a variety of reasons, I'm sure. And I don't mean to say that they were the Lunt files, but I have not found a single file that comes out of the executive office on that. I know that anytime anything is done on that site, OTO is responsible for notifying everyone. So there are notifications somewhere. Certainly the health department had several of them. And as we begin to continue to look for the files, and I get additional, and I find them, and we did have a few in our office, I will give you as much of the information that I have.
Great, thank you.
So to also further answer your question, there may have been a decision made. I know that sometimes the LSP will submit that information to DEP and EPA, and their response may have suggested a different pathway. I do not, as I said before, have the answer to your question as to why it wasn't put in. And until I can say I might insist to have it put in, I'd like to know if there was some official reason why it wasn't.
Okay, next I have Councilor DeSorger. You're on mute.
Okay. Mayor, thank you very much for the email that you sent yesterday with the timeline on the Lunt cleanup.
In that email, you stated that the required interview process was currently ongoing. To my knowledge, only one petitioner was called, and he was actually threatened numerous times during the call with defamation lawsuits. Can you assure us that the interview process will be conducted from now on without such disturbing threats? There are many community members who've signed the petition, and it is on their behalf that I'm asking.
I can't speak to the conversation that was had because I was certainly not part of it. So I know that a list has been sent of all of the petitioners with the emails that were on that list and the phone numbers that were on that list. I know they have been sent to the LSP and for the purpose of calling and interviewing them. So I can certainly check on that and see what the status of that is. They have some time to conduct those interviews.
Thank you.
Okay, next I see Councillor Forgy.
Thank you very much. Mayor, you were talking before about testifying at a hearing that would address the issues of municipalities out here in Western Mass in specific ways about the public safety interests. What is the timeline? Can you tell us what the timeline is as far as the bill being presented for a vote on the State House floor?
To my knowledge, this is the first hearing, and as you know, it's a long pathway to get a bill into law. So this is step one. I don't know that there is a timeline, and I certainly don't know what it is. I did have a conversation with the senator this morning. I didn't ask her about that because from my experience, it's only step one. It could go to committee and sit there for quite a while, but it has some substantial support behind it. So I think that it will take the normal pathway, but I'll certainly find that out.
I'd appreciate that.
I do want to say, I'm not telling you about this because I think it's going to help us with the fire station.
Thank you.
It'll be a while. It might help when it comes time to do additional renovations or even a new police station, which is my hope. And as you might have guessed, the City Hall could use a little help as well.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, next I have Councillor Ricketts.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor. I just want to thank you for the emails. I like getting all that information so I have a chance to look at everything. And I like what you said before. I'd like you to always reach out if there's anything councilors can do to help you reach out to other people to get us anything and everything that we're really due. So yeah, I'm ready to lend my signature, my voice. So definitely keep us in the loop for all of that. And I just want to say in the last month and a half, I've been reading the paper daily, and I've been seeing lots of the towns around us have been going through some difficult times of losing people that they've had for years on staff. So I'm just hoping that you can do everything you can to make sure we keep our very experienced staff, you know, especially like our clerk's office. Of course, it's going to be dear to my heart because they really do run so much. But whether it's increases in pay or just really acknowledging everything they do, it is really countywide and probably statewide that people are moving not only to different offices, but because of COVID, deciding that they just don't want to work in the public anymore. So just want to wish you best of luck of really keeping it together and keeping us strong and our foundation of good people. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Councilor Ricketts. It is something that I do think about daily because I value greatly the people for the city of Greenfield at all levels, but certainly, and by all means, Clerk Scott's office, and all of the people that live there. And this has been an well, they feel that they live there, I'm sure, that work there. This has been an extremely challenging time for them because, and I think I maybe acknowledged this much earlier, you know, towards the end of last year, that COVID unfortunately didn't in many ways make everyone nicer. It made a lot of people mad, and they feel quite compelled to exercise that anger when they are dealing with the city government at any point in time. That is something that is certainly happening throughout the Commonwealth, because in December I had the pleasure of actually being with other mayors and heads of boards of selectmen at a conference on the Cape. And it was not only the topic of our conversations as we just met with one another socially, but it was part of the program that was presented before us, and that is the incivility of the treatment towards the people that work in city and town governments. So I do try to acknowledge as often as possible the good work that our people do. And yes, we will certainly do monetarily what we can within all of the budget guidelines that we have to follow.
Okay, and Councilor Ricketts had a follow-up.
She's on mute.
Councilor Ricketts, you're muted.
Just want to thank you, Mayor, and MJ for all the work that you guys have been helping with for the GBA. I know we're trying to get a lot of stuff done in the city with the recreation and things that we can do to hopefully get foot traffic happening. And so it's been really good and really open conversations. And whether we're talking about parking or events going on, it's been a really good work together. So I just want to thank you both for all of that. It's important.
Okay, next I have Councilor Mayo. Councilor Mayo, are you there?
His microphone's still not working.
Councilor Mayo, your microphone is on, but we cannot hear you.
Disconnect the headset.
We still can't hear you, Councilor Mayo. The suggestion is to disconnect the headset.
Nope.
If you're speaking, we still cannot hear you.
It looks like he might be experiencing low bandwidth. I'm gonna move on, but if he's able to connect a little more clearly later on and the mayor's still here, then I would allow him to go out of order. I don't want to fault him for having technical problems.
Right.
Okay, were there communications from any other city employees tonight? I don't believe anyone else was invited.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, great. So in that case, we can move on to public comment. And I have a very short list here. The first person that I see is Susan Wargaftic. If you could state your name and your address for the record, And anyone else from the public, if you would like to speak during public comment or during the public hearing, which is coming up next, you're welcome to sign up in the chat box by typing in your name and your address. Just don't use that for any kind of comments or debate. All right, Susan, take it away.
Thank you, President Gilmore. I'm here representing Housing Greenfield, which is a group of people that came out of the forum that Greening Greenfield and FCCPR held together this past spring around housing. And I'd like to just talk to you about a couple of things that we want to highlight here. First of all, I want to thank MJ Adams, Tom Garino, and Gina Gavoni for working with us on a whole lot of stuff, both educating us on the housing situation here in town and also opening up some options that we're very excited about. And we think there's potential for some affordable housing in town, though very early stages. One of the things we're looking forward to is the discussion of the downtown planning this spring, and that is going to be a really important part of this discussion. And then last night there was a beginning of a discussion around the upper floors on downtown that I think is going to hopefully bring us some actions in the future, if not immediately. What I'd like to talk to you about are two things that are going to, we hope, come up over the next period of time in the legislature. There is what is being called the luxury property real estate transfer fee, which is a long way of saying this is a transfer fee for affordable housing. It will be a local option that each community will be allowed to decide upon. It'll be anywhere from 0.5% to 2%. Town makes the decision on what it will be. This would give us some flexibility of funding for housing affordable housing in town. It would be a one-time fee. I would love to be able to talk with whoever on the council would be interested in discussing it so that you're up to date on what's happening. It's going, it has had its hearings. We're hoping it'll be reported out shortly. There is a lot of momentum for it. Joe Comerford was one of the people who was very involved in sponsoring it. So I'm hoping this will move forward. And if it does, I'm hoping that we can have a discussion at the council. The other thing is, in order to make that affordable housing, transfer fee work, is to have an affordable housing trust. And that is a major effort that we would have to look at. That is a city functioning trust. It is not something that would be done outside of the city at this point. So again, I would love to be able to have the opportunity to talk with folks about that and also suggest people who know a whole lot more about it than I do so that the council can be knowledgeable about it. And just one more thing, and that is just keep in mind, as we're thinking about affordable housing, we're talking about 57% of this community in terms of households would be eligible for some kind of housing subsidy should we ever have the housing to be able to give them that subsidy. And so this is not a small effort. We're not simply talking about the people who are in the shelter or are living in tents in the woods. We are also talking about families that are doubling up. We're talking about young people who are couch surfing or have gone back to live with their parents because they could not afford the housing in this community. So this is a very big issue for us, and I am hoping that we can all work together to work on it. Thank you very much.
Point of order.
Great. Yeah, yes, who was that?
It's Phil Elmer. Are we enforcing a 3-minute limit?
Actually, I didn't set a timer, but I can do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Next we have Glenn Ayers. If you could state your name and address for the record.
Yes, thank you, President Gilmore, and good evening, councilors. My name is Glenn Ayers. I live at 254 Davis Street, and I would like to offer a public comment tonight regarding the Lunt property. And I'll try to keep it under 3 minutes, but I have a lot that I want to say, and that is that in 2012, the Phase 2 Comprehensive Site Assessment Report was submitted on the Lunt property, and that included a preliminary estimate of the cost of installing the subslab depressurization system to deal with the TCE vapor intrusion into the buildings. That was $150,000 for that. And it also, a preliminary estimate was $125,000 for the groundwater collection and treatment system to treat the TCE contaminated groundwater on the site to keep it from migrating off-site, and further to keep it from migrating under the buildings and adding more vapor to the interior air. So that was $125,000, then $200,000 for operation and maintenance for those systems, and an additional $200,000 for reporting and the cost of hiring the LSP, I guess. So both of these recommendations were incorporated into the lease that was signed by the city in 2015. They're included as Exhibit B, Table 14, in the current lease that was signed, still in effect. Yet those things have not been installed. They're not operational. They were never installed. And we submitted our public involvement petition on December 1st, and the very next day, the LSP, OTO, they submitted a request for a 6-month extension for submitting the Phase 3 report, which would be to actually determine what the reasonable treatment alternatives are for the site. Now, that report, Phase 3, that should have been submitted back in 2012 or early in 2013. It should have taken a couple of months to prepare that, and yet it's 9 years overdue, and the LSP has now asked for another 6-month extension to submit the Phase 3 report. So there is something very wrong with the way this process has been done. In 2017, DEP ordered the city to install the subslab depressurization system and have it operational by August 31st of 2017. Well, that was never done. And so I just don't understand why the LSP now needs another 6 months to do something that should have been done 9 years ago. And in the meantime, the contamination is spreading. It is untreated, it is uncontrolled. There is no contaminant control on this site currently. And I really think that the council needs to look at the likelihood of hiring a new LSP that can actually do the work that is necessary, because this LSP has not maintained control of the site, and they want 6-month extensions for things that should have been done 9 years ago. That is just completely unacceptable. So I don't feel comfortable having this LSP be the ones in charge of the public involvement plan if they can't even do something that they should have done 9 years ago and now want 6 more months to do it. And again, it was mentioned that I was interviewed apparently by an attorney who is also leasing this property. And I don't think that that is proper either, for the leasee to be calling me and intimidating me and threatening me with lawsuits, claiming that he is conducting the interviews for the public involvement plan.
So
There's something very wrong here. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry I went too long.
No,
but
I
thank you very
understand.
much
Yeah,
for the
the time-
comments.
the time is up, so I'm going to have to move to the next person on my list, and that is Doug Sullivan.
Good evening.
President Gilmore, can I ask
Yes,
a quick question? I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you hear me speak, and can you hear the alarm go off?
it's sometimes I thought that I did hear a ding. I had one here too, but
Okay.
when someone speaks, sometimes WebEx chooses what I hear.
Okay, I'll try to wave when the alarm goes off next time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Doug Selwyn.
And I will keep this short. Doug Selwyn, 38 Forest Avenue. Want to first of all thank Glenn Ayers and Councilors Bottomley and Disorder for raising the issue of the PIP. I live a block over from the Lunt property, and we're concerned. We're concerned about what is happening in the air, what's happening under the ground. the streams that run into the street. They are unknown to us. Nobody certainly talked about it when we looked at building where we live, and we hope that it can be addressed for real and that the necessary cleanup happens. So thank you to all of you for raising and following the issue. I also want to talk just urgently about the need for housing. It's something we say every year. Yep, we need housing, and then nothing happens. Not because there's a lack of will up to a point, but because it's expensive to do something. And I'm hoping that the planning board and the zoning folks and the administration can come together in some way to actually make progress in terms of finding homes for the homeless and to more opportunity for people. That is not simply something that we wring our hands over and then find there's no way to act. There are towns all over Western Massachusetts that have the same problems, and I'm wondering in what ways we can approach the state as a unified or connected force to really push more loudly. I mean, I don't know where ARPA money fits into this. I don't know. I know there's a lot of money in the state. It just doesn't show up here, as was mentioned earlier. But it's not something we can keep putting off. We have temperatures in the 2s and 3s next week, or maybe it's this week, and I mean, it's winter, and having a little more emergency housing doesn't really cut it. So whatever we can do, however we can work together, there are groups like the one Susan talked about that are willing to pitch in too. So let's do something together on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on my list, I have Pamela Goodwin.
Hi, good evening. I'm pleased to be here again, and I want to thank and acknowledge that I've spent some time working with Athena, who's the grant writer in the town hall. We're working with other town hall officials. I'm a member of the Housing Greenfield, and I feel like it's been months and months and months and months that we have been convening on Zoom. I also would like people to know it's just not a bunch of concerned residents. We have a number of official agencies that are involved in Housing Greenfield. I spent an hour and a half at the zoning board and was not allowed to speak, and I knew that it said no public comment. And I believe the same is maybe going to happen at the planning board. So I want to join Doug in thinking that, you know, I know people are concerned. I'm hearing the concern all over the place, but we're looking for some action. And I will also say that as a member, a new member of the State Public Housing Board for Massachusetts Public Housing Tenants, there's over 150,000 people on the waiting list looking for affordable housing in the state alone. So we definitely have to do something. And I'd love to see an action happening where, because we talk a little bit and have talked about there's a stigmatism and, oh, you know, maybe somebody doesn't want the abandoned building next door to be public housing or affordable housing, whatever you'd like to call it. But we just really want to say this is urgent. It's been urgent for a very long time, not just this winter, not just because of COVID, but we are seeing some evictions happening. And yes, we have ARPA money, and yes, we're looking for funding, and yes, there is funding. But I'm working with some mass law reform lawyers, and our board of 13, I guess it's 11 now, and we're talking about residents' rights who are housed. And if you've watched the news lately, we've got displaced elderly because of broken pipes, because of fires. They're in hotels. They've got their pets with them. I mean, once you get displaced and you're old and you're impaired, it's a little harder on you than if you're 23 and you can, you know, couch surf, which is not fun either, at a friend's house. So I'm just begging all of you to get involved and come alongside and see how fast we can work. We do have places. I missed the information about the upstairs downtown area. I know it's an accessibility issue, a second egress, all of the codes, but we may have to change some codes, and I'm certain that we do. I thank you for your time.
Okay, is there anybody else who is interested in signing up for public comment? I don't see anyone else in the chat. Anyone on the phone maybe who can't use the chat box? All right, it appears that Councilor Mayo is back online, so I'm gonna let him go back to his question. Oh, I'm sorry, someone waving. Yes, can you state your name and your address for the record, please? You're on mute.
Oops, sorry about that. My name is Carissa Clifford and I live on the Mohawk Trail in Greenfield. I just wanted to say good evening, counselors and mayor. I also wanted to address my ongoing concerns regarding the Lunt property. It's a difficult situation to fully grasp unless you've really done a deep dive into all these documents. However, the EDC meeting, Mr. Ayers and Mr. Witten and the others there, the counselors, really broke it down. And so if you haven't had a chance to watch that, I really suggest you do. My disappointment right now is the contention. I'm not understanding why this has been so hard to get going, why there doesn't seem to be a concern. So I just wrote down quickly that I'm not sure if it's because of an attempt to protect the city from liability in regards to interrupting the sale of the property, because then I implore you to consider the liabilities we would face for exposing the people that are living there knowingly to these high levels of TCE. And one of the big problems that the city and OTO and then this side of it has a different opinion of it's a residential or commercial use, and it makes a difference because the acceptable levels are different. But I don't know if you were able to read the immediate response action that OTO submitted to the DEP in 2016. Actually said that they used the term residential rooms when they were talking about where air samples were taken and not taken. From a point of litigation, I can see a prosecuting attorney saying, you said right there that that's residential, and it is. I can't see a business having someone reside in their business for 3 months at a time. But anyway, I'm just asking the town to come together to work together. I think the PIP process is the perfect avenue to do that. And it's important. We need to do the right thing. We all care about our environment, but even more so, we all care about our neighbors, and we want to make sure that everybody is safe and healthy. And that's all I had to say. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Great, thank you. Was there anybody else for public comment? Okay, I wanted to go back to Councilor Mayo, who wasn't able to ask his questions earlier due to technical difficulties. Councilor Mayo, if you are online, please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. I stopped using my computer. I'm on my iPad. So first I want to address this to the mayor. I want to thank her so much for the information that's been sent to us for the last couple of days on this very important Lund property. I also want to thank Councilors Bottomley and DeSorga for their diving into this and bringing some things to light. My take on this is we have a sense of obligation, a sense of morality to take care of people in this city. And nowhere do I see that. I see a lot of regulations and put-offs, not necessarily by you, Mayor, this began long ago and should have been dealt with long ago, but a sense of morality has to come into it at some point and say, would I want to live there knowing what I know now? And I think we need to operate in that capacity. And we have the capability of doing remediation fairly easily by that fan system that was addressed earlier. And I think at the very least, we should be doing that in the short run until we get a more complicated cleanup done. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor.
Okay, so next on the agenda, there is a public hearing, and this is regarding the, this is for the second readings. So I'm going to have Counselor Forgy, if you would. I'm sorry, Clerk
Yes.
Scott. I want to double check and make sure. First, we're going to do the second reading, and then we are opening the public hearing. Am I correct? Before I go
So-
full speed ahead.
No, public hearing first.
So Counselor Forgy is going to read the public hearing first. You can open the public hearing and then she can read the second reading. And after the second reading, if someone wants to speak, that's fine. That's you and the process for public comment. And then the public hearing can be closed.
Perfect. Let's do it that way.
Okay. A public hearing in accordance with Home Rule Charter. The Greenfield City Council will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, January 19th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. via WebEx. The address is given to receive public input on the following. Appropriate $221,055 from free cash for Greenfield Permanent Firefighters Local number 2548, International Association of Firefighters, AFL-CIO, CLC union contract. The City Council may consider the same on Wednesday, January 19th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. via WebEx. Materials can be obtained from the City Clerk's office, 14 Court Square, from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, or phone 413-772-1555, extension 6163. Sheila Gilmore, Greenfield City Council President.
Okay, so now the public hearing is open, correct?
It is,
So-
if you say so.
Okay, it is open. So is there anybody from the public who would like to speak just on this issue? This isn't public comment, it's just for this one particular issue.
I have to do the second reading.
Oh, please.
Okay, City Council, second reading, January 19th, 2022. Appropriate $221,055 from free cash for Greenfield Permanent Firefighters Local number 2548, International Association of Firefighters, AFL-CIO, CLC union contract.
Great. So I don't see that anybody has signed up to speak during the public hearing. If I'm incorrect, please let me know. If there's somebody who's on the phone who maybe can't use the chat box, please let me know.
I don't see any comments under public hearing either, President Gilmore.
I don't either. So let's close the public hearing. And then we can move on to motions, orders, and resolutions, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. All right, let's do that. First, Councilor Gwynn, we have the mayor's appointments.
I move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Council pursuant to Charter Section 2-10 affirms the following appointments and reappointments by the mayor. Tracy Allen, Sustainable Greenfield Implementation Committee, term expires December 31st, 2024. Jonah Keene, Sustainable Greenfield Implementation Committee, term expires December 31st, 2022 to finish out Jay Lord's term. Carol Collins, Sustainable Greenfield Implementation Committee, term expires December 31st, 2023, a reappointment 2-year term to maintain the staggered terms. Michelle Laurie, Public Safety Commission, term expires December 31st, 2024.
Second, 4G.
Thank you. Would you like to report from the committee, please?
Yeah, this got a positive unanimous recommendation from the committee. We also had the opportunity to hear from Michelle and Jonah, who joined us at the meeting, and very positive, informed people stepping up to help us out.
Great. Do any of the counselors have any questions or comments? If you do, please put your name in the chat box.
Yeah, I do.
All right.
Oh, wait one second.
Okay, Councilor Ricketts.
Yes. I'm really happy to see that there is a woman on the Public Safety Commission. So I hope this is just the beginning, and that I know that we are talking
It's
about.
not there yet.
Somebody talking?
I'm sorry, if you're not speaking, please mute your mic.
Okay, so so I am happy about that move, and I hope in the future we'll have even more women and people of color joining this public safety. And I do hope that, you know, the number increases one day too of how many members will be on it. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to comment or ask a question about this motion? All right. Seeing none. Clerk Scott, do we want a roll call vote on this, or can we just vote together?
Roll call vote, please.
Okay, would you please do the roll?
Thank you. Councillor Jarvis.
Yes.
Vice President Gwynn.
Yes.
Councillor Disorder.
Yes.
Councillor Bottomley.
Yes.
Councillor Bullock.
Yes.
Councillor Mayo.
Yes.
Councillor Healy.
Yes.
Councillor Elmer.
Yes.
Councillor Forgy.
Yes.
Councillor Ricketts. Councillor Ricketts, you're on mute.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Toronzo.
Yes.
Does the president wish to vote?
No, thank you.
The motion passes unanimously.
Great. Next, we have approval of the Memorandum of Understanding between the City of Greenfield and Greenfield Fire and Police Signal Operators Association. And this came from Ways and Means, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
Order number fiscal year 22075. The City Council, upon recommendation of Mayor Rita Gardner, move that it be ordered that the Memorandum of Understanding, parentheses, MOU, and parentheses, between the City of Greenfield and the Greenfield Fire and Police Signal Operators Association be approved. Financial summary. A, fiscal year 22 wage scale increased and readjusted to have only 4 steps. Step A through D, pay range 25 $28.78 through $28.75. B, COLA, COLA, fiscal year 22, 0%, fiscal year 23, 1%, fiscal year 24, 1%. C, increase the shift differential pay. And D, addition of education incentive pay. Majority vote required, and the attachments are also included with this motion.
Second, disorder.
Thank you. And what was the report from the committee?
We actually had 4 members present last night, and it was a unanimous positive recommendation.
Wonderful. Does anybody have any questions or comments on this motion? All right, seeing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, thank you. Counselor Jarvis,
Yes.
Vice President Gwynn,
Yes.
Counselor Disorder,
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley,
Yes.
Counselor Bullock,
Yes.
Counselor Mayo,
Yes.
Counselor Healy,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer,
Yes.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Ricketts,
My honor to vote yes.
Counselor Toronto.
Yes.
Does the president wish to vote?
No, thank you.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously.
All right, the next one was also from Ways and Means.
That is order number fiscal year 22-076. The City Council, upon recommendation of the Mayor Gardner, ordered that the sum of $221,055 be appropriated from free cash to fund retroactive wage provisions of a new contract agreement with the Greenfield Permanent Firefighters Local Number 2548, International Association of Firefighters, AFL-CIO, CLC Union. The summary: base pay, fiscal year 22-0, parentheses, changes in wage chart give existing firefighters approximately 8-11.2% increase. Fiscal year 23, 1% plus add steps. Fiscal year 24, 1% plus additional 1% for EMT levels. Stipend, temporary station stipend, $30 per week for up to 24 months, $35 per week for any duration thereafter. Longevity, 10 years of continuous service, 1% incentive pay increase, 15 years of continuous service, 2% incentive pay increase, and 20 years of continuous service, 3% incentive pay increase. Firefighters holding an EMT certification receive additional longevity benefit, 10 years of continuous service, 1%, 15 years of continuous service, 2%, and 20 years of continuous service, 3%. The free cash balance is currently $530,198. Majority vote is required. Explanation of supporting rationale. Attachments are listed. There are 4 of them.
Second, Ricketts.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Okay, I do. President Gilmore.
I'm sorry, would you like to report from the committee?
Yeah, first of all, again, it was unanimous positive recommendation. I just wanted to point out that included in this contract language is an MOU of that addresses the fact that the fire department, with the exception of the chief, will all be pulling out of civil service. The chief actually went into civil service back in the 1920s or 30s by a vote of town meeting, and so he cannot be pulled out unless it goes back to a ballot question for the town. But all the other firefighters have voted to get out of civil service. And so this is something else that's happening within the contract. And the firefighters have agreed to that as well.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the motion? Okay, seeing none, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Jarvis,
Yes.
Vice President Gwynn,
Yes.
Counselor Disorder,
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley,
Yes.
Counselor Bullock,
Yes.
Counselor Mayo,
Yes.
Counselor Healy,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer,
Yes.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Ricketts,
Yes.
Counselor Toronzo.
Yes.
Does the president wish to vote?
No, thank you. All right, next on the agenda, I see a charter amendment. So Vice President Gwynn, if you would please indulge us.
Sure. Let me just start by saying, for those of you that are new to these charter amendment changes that I've worked with past President Ricketts in for a year or over already, the clerk's office does a great job on putting these packets together to show you what was discussed, what was there. They've highlighted, they've struck through, they've color coded. So anyone that is starting to follow along as we try to get through these, there's a lot of information in the packet that comes out each and every time. I check with Tammy before all the meetings to make sure that I can recall the votes, because the process is they come out of the Charter Review Committee. They come to our committee. We make a recommendation. That recommendation goes to the lawyer. The lawyer sends it back with any changes, and then we present it here. So by the time it comes back, it might have been 2 meetings ago. But we're getting there, one chapter and section at a time. So that's where we are. So we are now in section 4, and we're going to go through that this evening. I move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Charter, Article 4, School Department, Section 4-2, School Committee Chair, subsection A, election and term be amended as indicated below, with the bold text to be added and the strike-through text to be removed. We're adding vice chair and secretary to the section. We're changing the current language to say on the first business day of the new year, and one of its members to serve as secretary, all to serve for their ensuing year. The mayor shall not be eligible to be chair. And that the city council further instructs the city clerk to submit the approved vote to the legislature of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and request said legislature to amend the city charter.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Forgy.
Thank you. This was a positive, unanimous recommendation from the A&O committee.
Great, thank you.
If anyone has any questions, most of it's in our notes, but if anyone has any questions, feel free to.
All right, seeing none, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Counselor Jarvis,
Yes.
Counselor Vice President Gwynn,
Yes.
Counselor Disorder,
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley,
Yes.
Counselor Bullock,
Yes.
Counselor Mayo,
Yes.
Counselor Healy,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer,
Yes.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Ricketts,
Yes.
Counselor Toronzo.
Yes.
Does the president wish to vote?
No, thank you. All right,
Motion
and
passes.
thank you.
Sorry.
And next, we're going to stay with A&O. And actually, Vice President Gwynn, if you could chair the meeting for just 5 minutes, I will be right back.
Surely.
Can you chair and do A&O at the same time?
No problem.
All right, I'll be right
I
back.
move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Charter Article 4 School Department Section 4-2 School Committee Chair subsection B power and duties be amended as indicated below with the bold text to be added. The bold text would be in accordance with the school committee policy manual. And that the City Council further instructs the City Clerk to submit the approved vote to the Legislature of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and request said legislator to amend the City Charter.
Second.
Mayo.
Thank you, Councilor Mayo. This also received a positive unanimous recommendation and for the discussions and reasons as listed. Any discussion or questions on this change to be? I'm not seeing any. Clerk Scott, roll call vote, please.
Councilor Jarvis,
Yes.
Vice President Gwynn,
Yes.
Councilor Disorder,
Yes.
Councilor Bottomley,
Yes.
Councilor Bullock,
Yes.
Councilor Mayo,
Yes.
Councilor Healy,
Yes.
Councilor Elmer,
Yes.
Councilor Forgy,
Yes.
Councilor Ricketts,
Yes.
Councilor Toronto.
Yes.
I don't think the president is back yet.
I just got back. I do not wish to vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We are on motion on page 92, President Gilmore.
Great.
I'll
All right.
continue.
Vice President. Yes, please.
Move that be ordered that the Greenfield City Charter Article 4 School Department Section 4-2 School Committee Chair be amended by adding the new subsection D, Secretary, as follows. Section 4-2 School Committee Chair. Section D, Secretary. The Secretary of the School Committee will keep or cause to be kept an accurate journal and permanent record book of all committee meetings in which all its votes, orders, and proceedings shall be recorded, will comply with state law and committee policy regarding notification of meetings, and will render such reports as may be required by the state. And that the City Council further instructs the City Clerk to submit the approved vote to the Legislature of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and request said legislator to amend the City Charter.
Second, Mayo.
This also received a positive unanimous recommendation, putting Secretary in the charter as the school committee has been functioning with the Secretary.
All right. Questions or comments? All right. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilor Jarvis,
Yes.
Vice President Gwynn,
Yes.
Councilor Disorder,
Yes.
Councilor Bottomley,
Yes.
Councilor Bullock,
Yes.
Councilor Mayo,
Yes.
Councilor Healy,
Yes.
Councilor Elmer,
Yes.
Councilor Forgy,
Yes.
Councilor Ricketts,
Yes.
Councilor Toronto.
Yes.
Does the president wish to vote?
No, thank you.
The motion passes.
Thank you.
I move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Charter Article 4 School Department Section 4-5 School Committee Powers and Duties subsection B be amended as indicated below with the bold text to be added. The bold text to be added is as required by and allowed by law. And that the City Council further instructs the City Clerk to submit the approved vote to the Legislature of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and request said legislature to amend the City Charter.
Second, Mayo.
This received a positive unanimous recommendation from subcommittee.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? All right, can we have another roll call vote, please?
Counselor Jarvis,
Yes.
Vice President Gwynn,
Yes.
Counselor Disorder,
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley,
Yes.
Counselor Bullock,
Yes.
Counselor Mayo,
Yes.
Counselor Healy,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer,
Yes.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Ricketts,
Yes.
Counselor Toronzo.
Yes.
Does the president wish to vote?
No, thank you.
The motion passes.
Great.
I move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Charter Article 4 School Department Section 4-6 filling of vacancies by school committee be amended as indicated below, with the bold text to be added and the strike-through text to be removed. Adding, more than 90 days before the next regular biennial election, according to the procedures outlined in the school committee policy manual at the time of such vacancy, filling a vacancy. And that the city council further instructs the city clerk to submit the approved vote to the legislature of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and request said legislature to amend the city charter.
Second, Elmer.
Second.
This received a positive majority vote with one abstention.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments?
I have
All right, we're almost done, folks.
I think we have a
Yes.
question.
One question.
Yes.
I'm wondering what, if it's no longer going to be by the remaining members of the committee, what, if it's according to the procedures outlined, what would the outlined procedure be? Do we know, I mean, do we have more information on that?
I can,
On their policy manual?
I remember one of,
Go ahead.
I was just saying, I was on the charter review committee, what seems like 10 years ago. And we did talk a lot about how the school committee has an updated, or they regularly update their policy manual, and they keep that in line with changing state regulations. And that is more of a living document, whereas the charter is a more permanent document that we don't want to modify very often.
Gotcha.
If anyone recalls anything, Councillor Forgy was also on that with me.
That is correct.
Okay.
And yes, it does seem like 10 years ago.
The beginning of the pandemic.
That explanation was spot on.
Is there any other questions or comments? And elbow your way in. I don't want to rush anybody. Okay, can we have a roll call vote then?
Yes. Counselor Jarvis,
Yes.
Vice President Gwynn,
Yes.
Counselor Disorder,
Yes.
Counselor Bottomley,
Yes.
Counselor Bullock,
Yes.
Counselor Mayo,
Yes.
Counselor Healy,
Yes.
Counselor Elmer,
yes.
Counselor Forgy,
Yes.
Counselor Ricketts,
Yes.
Counselor Toronto.
Yes.
Does the president wish to vote?
No, thank you.
I believe I'm to my last one right now.
Yes.
I am. I move that it be ordered that the Greenfield City Charter Article 6, Administrative Organizations, Section 6-14A and C, Board of Assessors, be amended as indicated below, with the bold text to be added and the strike-through to be removed. 614 Board of Assessors. So in Article A, there is just strike through version. And in portion C, that is leaving, and it says a principal assessor shall be appointed pursuant to the provisions of the Department of Municipal Finance, Section 6-3 in the Charter. And that the City Council further instructs the city clerk to submit the approved vote to the legislature of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and request said legislator to amend the city charter.
Second, Elmer.
So in section A, it looks like there is a little bit of text to be added. It's just the words to be.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be in the record.
No.
That's all.
Yep. So section A, strike through there, adding to be before elected at large by the voters.
All right. I think we had a second on that one. Did I hear that wrong?
Can we just get that? Maybe. Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to
Counselor
give us a
Elmer
report?
seconded.
Great.
This also received a positive unanimous recommendation from the subcommittee. And the explanations are listed, but Councilor Forgy or I would be happy to address this if anyone has any questions.
I did. I had one question. As a clarification, when I was reading through the article itself, I think I got the explanation from the legal attachment, but is it my understanding that now we will have 3 elected and then 1 appointed chief, as opposed to before the appointed was one of the 3? Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
that is correct. But the chief assessor would be an employee of the town.
Right.
Okay, and the others would be elected at large by the
Correct.
voters.
With the staggering terms.
Yes.
Right. Okay. It became more clear when reading the response from legal. Then it seems to maybe be in the wording. It's almost having to combine sections A and C as one versus, being separated. So I guess that was kind of just where it got a little hinky for me, and so I got more clarification getting the legal response too.
Yes, we did have to change some of those A's and B's and drop something and modify a few things as well.
Sure.
But the point being that in the past, the legal opinion did state that the mayor's appointee to the Board of Assessors
Right.
was also serving as the town employee.
Right.
And therefore, there was a conflict with the term of appointment because all the assessors serve for 3 years staggered.
Right.
And basically, an employee is hired and serves under contract.
Right.
And at the mayor's pleasure.
Right.
So that was an employment sort of conflict within the assessors department.
Okay. Thanks for that clarification.
Thank you for reading it.
A lot of reading, but you got to read it, right?
You do. Thank you. No, we appreciate that.
Kudos to the new counselor for reading the legal opinion.
All right. Does anyone else have any questions or comments on this motion? Okay, seeing none, if we can have a roll call vote, please.
Councilor Jarvis,
Yes.
Vice President Gwynn,
Yes.
Councilor Disorder,
Yes.
Councilor Bottomley,
Yes.
Councilor Bullock,
Yes.
Councilor Mayo,
Yes.
Councilor Healy,
Yes.
Councilor Elmer,
Yes.
Councilor Forgy,
Yes.
Councilor Rickett,
Yes.
Councilor Toronto.
Yes.
Does the president wish to vote?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
So next we have presentation of petitions and similar papers. Do we have anything of that nature? Okay. Would anybody like to give a report of their committee? And actually, I think I would like for all the committee chairs to please report out for the benefit of the new counselors and in some cases, new chairs. I'll let you fight over who wants to go first. Oh, Chris has her hand up. Yes, Councilor Forgy.
I'll go first. Thank you very much. Actually, we met last evening, so it's current events, at least in my mind. We had a very good meeting. We had invited the 2 elected assessors to come and open up a conversation with us in regard to split tax rate. How do we garner the information? What's important for us to look at? What is the overall question that we want to ask ourselves? Those things were established, and it was a good starting point for us because we actually not only identified the overall umbrella piece, but some of the pieces that make that up. So every month, we will be asking representatives of the assessor's office, or maybe RRG, and our elected assessors to come and speak to us about how we actually put together items so we can make a judgment when we get around to setting the tax rate, which does not happen until November. And so if we are informed, better informed, and the public understands, we feel very strongly that we'll be able to make a better decision. The second part of our meeting, besides just getting our money business out of the way, involved the fire department. And we know that there are some issues right now. We've read the article in the paper, and I would like to open up that discussion under new business for the council to participate in. But those were what came out of committee last night, and I thought it was a very good meeting.
Thank you. Councilor Gwynn, other than charter changes, would you like to pontificate on A&O?
I would just like to say we are going to continue. We had another grueling meeting this past week going over charter changes. Just a reminder, we are looking at the Charter Review Committee's report. That is what we're doing. So we already have the report that was worked on for a couple of years. We get that, and then we look at their recommendations and how they align with current charter and make recommendations to all of you. We are not starting over. We're not beginning at A. We are towards the final stages of this. And remember, for the new counselors, this comes from our subcommittee, goes to the full committee. From the full committee, it's already gone to the lawyer, goes to the full committee, then it's submitted to the clerk's office, eventually will go to the mayor, and then will go to the state. So there is a process. And so even though we're recommending these, they still have lots of approvals before they come back finished, and we might not see those for a year after we're done with this project. So be ready that this is a long process, but I think we're doing it. I would like to think that with President Ricketts' past guidance on this, we have stayed on track on this. It's a lot, but we are on it, and I think we're doing it well. I think it's not quick. It's not quick. And I know I have new counselors that are joining the committee. I'm excited that we are going to do. We had some changeover of counselors. I retained Counselor Jarvis. And we added Counselor Forgy to A&O, and then we have two Lapiensky and Bullock joining us. I think we're going to roll. It's definitely a lot of work, which I was warned at when I stepped up to A&O the last time, and I haven't, and she didn't let me down on that. So I thank everyone that served so far. we'll have another meeting with more to do. And some of these are taking a long time. We have a few that are taking a little longer than others, but we get legal opinions when we need it. We make sure we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's. And just be aware that we are not starting over and looking for language submission or any of those things. We had that over a year ago. I think April or something, we received the review committee. So that's what we're working on. And our next meeting, once again, will be reappointments. We did have some withdrawals from the mayor's office, and those were basically just technicalities on paperwork and when the office put it through, and those will be coming back, some reappointments and some appointments. And of course, those always take priority, and we do those first and then go into the charter review. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I know CRE didn't meet last month, so that just leaves EDC, and we have Councilor DeSorger is going to be passing the baton.
Yes. Well, I'd like to just say thank you to Councilor Elmer, who's going to be taking over in my role as chair of EDC. He was enormously helpful last month as we had a discussion on the Lunt property. We worked together, and that was a very informative meeting. And I'd like to welcome the new members that are coming to this committee. We have Councilor Mayo and Councilor Bullock and Councilor Healy that are going to be joining us. And I think one of the next things on the docket is a zoning change for the sign ordinance that will involve a joint public hearing with the planning board, which is yet to be scheduled. That will be Councilor Elmer will be setting that up with the planning board, and continued discussion on whatever it is that Councilor Elmer sees fit to be on the agenda. And I wish you luck. It's been a pleasure serving with you, and I'm happy to help in any way I can. And welcome to all the wonderful new people that will be joining. That's it.
Thank you. All right. Do we have anything under unfinished business? Any old business? I would like to say very quickly under old business that I want to thank past President Ricketts for serving as our president this last year, which was a very, very difficult year to serve on the city council. Everybody is tired, and we'd been meeting remotely for so long, and that was a lot of work that she did. So I wanted to thank her, and now she is going to. I know that one of her New Year's resolutions is to spend some more time with self-care. So she's going to be joining us on CRE, and of course, she's always here for us here in Greenfield. Moving on under new business, I do see a notice of zoning amendment proposals. And Clerk Scott, I'm going to ask you for some guidance. My recollection is that this is just a notification so that people are aware that this is going to be on the agenda. Do we need to read anything at this point?
So past practice is that the EDC chairperson reads the notice so that it's audible to the public.
Great. Do I have Councilor DeSorger, you're still the chair for a couple more days. Do you have that handy? You're on mute.
Sorry. The City Council moved that it be ordered that the City Council of Greenfield amend the zoning ordinance, Chapter 200, Section 200-6.7 sign regulations as indicated by attached Exhibit A, with strike-through text to be deleted and bold text to be added, and further amends the table of contents and index of the code, and further that non-substantive changes to the numbering of the ordinance be permitted in order that it be in compliance with the numbering format of the city of the Code of the City of Greenfield. 2/3 vote required.
Second, Mayo.
Thank you. Yes, Clerk Scott?
So that was just the first reading. A second is not required.
Okay, great. So we're not going to debate this because it's just a first reading. If counselors are interested in learning more, you're welcome to attend EDC. If you're not a member of EDC, you won't be able to participate, but it is good to see what other folks have going on. If you're not able to attend, try to watch the video later so that we can all fully participate. And do we have any motions for reconsideration? Yeah, oh, yes, Clerk
President
Scott,
Gilmore?
please.
There's a President Gilmore, Councilor Ricketts would like to speak under new business. Sorry.
I would too.
Yes.
Oh, yes, please. I'm sorry, I stopped looking at the chat. Please, Councilor Ricketts.
Okay, thank you. So our December got really busy and I had it written down. And so at this time, I would like to dedicate a page to Chief Gilbo. Okay, he meant the world to me, and I know that means a lot to Councilor Forgy as they shared the same birthday, but it still hurts, and it's been a couple months, but it's really important that I do this today. So I just want to thank you for indulging me. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great.
Councilor Forgy.
Yes. Under new business, as everybody is aware, we now have a fire station proposal that is going out to bid shortly. And what has happened since the time the former council voted the $16 million article in total, and now is that the costs of materials and the supply chain has increased this particular building project by about $3 million in costs. What has been happening within the building committee is they have been looking for ways in which to minimize that deficit without losing the quality of the structure itself and the future of the fire service in Greenfield. The mayor has dedicated some ARPA money towards this, and there have been some cuts that have been made internally. There is still a gap, and I think that there is a role for the council in working toward examining what is going on at this point and trying to come up with some funding sources, some monies that may be thought of in different ways at this particular time, maybe some negotiation over these monies. But I am loath to see the fire station become, when you're making decisions about whether there should be a roof or a floor, I think those are basic things, and I don't think this should be subject to an issue that is just a result of what's been going on in our national economy and with COVID. So what I am interested in doing and asking, and by the way, I have attended, and I know there are other people that have signed in and watched the building committee do their work. And it has been quite, I think, agonizing to see them going through these pieces line by line. But again, I feel there is a role for the council in helping to solve this problem. Since our primary duties and responsibilities are legislative, which involves money, I would like to ask people on the council, if they, and our council leadership, if they agree with that, and how should we move forward in doing that to be as supportive as we can in our community, bearing in mind that there are a lot of financial issues out there that need to be addressed. So, having said that, I guess I'm looking for some guidance as to where this should go next, and would welcome any comments or thoughts on this matter.
Point of clarification.
Yes, go ahead.
Clerk Scott, how much discussion could be put on this piece because it's under new business and not on the agenda? I'm not sure what that would entail. I just don't want to overstep.
That's fine.
So to my mind, this wasn't reasonably anticipated to be discussed tonight, and it wasn't put on the agenda because of that reason. This is the first I'm hearing of it. I think you can have some general discussion, but I would request people not state whether they would vote for any funding or not vote for funding. You know, by all means, do a little bit of brainstorming, but don't convict yourself to a vote that may be in the council's future.
Yes, Councilor Forgy.
So I guess my question is this something that can go into committee?
Yes, let's take this up on committee chairs, because then we can discuss this a little more fully and find the appropriate subcommittee to send this to, because I don't feel like this is a Ways and Means. I mean, of course, there's a Ways and Means part of it, but it feels like this doesn't fit solidly in Ways and Means. This might be something where we need to talk to folks. Maybe this is something that goes partially to CRE if we're talking about reaching out to constituents. One of the things that jumps to my mind is, you know, I know they did a lot of private fundraising for the library, and that would not be. So let's talk about this after a good night's sleep and, you know, full bellies during committee chairs, and we're going to find the right place to discuss this.
If I may, just throw this
absolutely
backed out, if I can. They're getting ready to write a bid, to put a bid out. And so whatever monies is available or becomes available, that can be included in the bid going out should be done sooner rather than later. It's important that they put out a legal bid, and part of that legal bid is that they state how much money they have to spend. So if we're going to move on this, I would think that I think that I would appreciate everybody thinking about that. There is another meeting tomorrow afternoon, I believe at 4:00. That is a public meeting. And if people can watch that, I would encourage them to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question, if you could clarify. When does this bid go out? I want to make sure that this is something that we have time to work on.
I would ask Councilor Jarvis, who is our representative to the building committee from the council. I know that he's got more facts about this than I do. Would you be willing to talk about that, Councilor Jarvis?
There we go. My mouse got lost someplace on the screen, so thank God for touch screens. I will speak to a little bit of this. We will be making some decisions tomorrow, so tomorrow would be to tune in. And shortly after that, we hope to be getting a bid package together. So it could be any foreseeable time in the near future. Because we need to get it out the bid, and we need to get the bids out there, and then you have your bid process, and then you have your reviews, and then you have, so it's going to be some time. It's going to be some time even after the package goes out. So I think that would be a question or clarification tomorrow to probably ask Gail Joyce and Patrico Ross where we would be on a time frame after tomorrow. I know maybe Counselor Haley might have a little bit more, have some insight. He definitely has some background in construction and stuff like that. But where we stand now is pretty soon we're going to be putting the bid package together, and the procurement will be putting it together along with Neil. So it'll be sooner rather than later. And there will be a lengthy discussion tomorrow. So any counselors that can tune in tomorrow, I would say tune in tomorrow. The meeting is at 4:00, and some changes will be discussed at that meeting, and then probably timeframes and stuff like that from Neil Joyce. So that's what the best intel I could give you at this point. We just got notification a couple of days ago about the meetings because we had to get it on the notification for open meeting laws. So
Thank you.
But what I could give you and not disclose too much before the meeting tomorrow.
I appreciate it. Thank you. So next I have Councilor DeSorger, then Vice President Gwynn, and then Councilor Healy.
So thank you very much for bringing that forward, Councilor Forgy. And I know it's not a subject for discussion tonight, but it did appear to me from listening to the meetings that the bid was going out soon. So if there's some way that it can be conveyed to whoever needs to know that this was something that came up in council that without speaking our views, because it's not on the agenda, but it is something that's not just a concern to us, but also the citizens we represent.
Thank you. Vice President Gwynn.
Just a comment or recommendation. As this seems to be a fiscally generated question more than anything, when we were talking about sending it to chairs and then over to a committee, I might suggest that you would consider making a subcommittee of Ways and Means with maybe some other members of the full committee, maybe Councilor Jarvis and Councilor Hurley or Councilor Ricketts, to join Councilor Forgy in a subcommittee that you would appoint to get this done quicker and sooner before we even get into the chair's meeting. Just a recommendation if we have to move this sooner than later.
That's a great idea. I actually started wondering about an ad hoc committee, but a subcommittee of Ways and Means might be more effective. Councilor Healy, and then I have Councilor Ricketts.
So, how's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Tired yet?
Welcome.
Tired.
So
we're used to it.
In the construction process, you know, when this does go out the bid, I think there are some alternatives to maybe address budget cuts in the bid package itself. If there's a wish list or desires of things that you are cutting out of the bid drawings, I would highly recommend potentially adding into the bid package as an ad alternate. That way there, when you get the sum of the bids, if it becomes under budget, you know what you're paying ahead of time for these wish lists that you took out of the bid package, right? So I think it would be beneficial to, you know, if Councilor Jarvis knows, he's closest to this, right? So he knows the things that they might be cutting, whether it's going from CMU block, less windows, smaller windows, you know, to incorporate some of these ad alternates into the bid process. And let's let the contractors do the work and get us the best project for the best value. I mean, we pay them a lot of money to get these buildings, right? So let's make sure we get everything that we want. And I always find in the construction industry, it's a lot better to get that data up front than it is after the fact, right? So I'd rather see it come in with alternates, and we could say, oh, look at that, you know, for an extra $100,000 and we're under 200, we could get the epoxy flooring we want in the fire station, right? So that was the only comment I had in regards to that. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I have Councilor Ricketts.
Yes, I won't be able to attend the meeting tomorrow because I have to work and I'm just hearing about this now. But I just, number one, in case they let you speak, I just want counselors to just be aware of how many may be at that meeting, and just to be careful that you don't break any open meeting laws in case you do get to speak, and there's many of us at that meeting. And I do like the idea of the ad hoc, and I will do anything for this fire station. So I sent an email already to Councilor Jarvis to try to keep track of things that are going to be cut and the dollar amounts, because if there's some fundraising or something that's got to be done, you know, I'm all over it. I want to help in any way that I can, but I would like to see the listing. That's the best thing that could help me, but I cannot go to the meeting tomorrow, but an ad hoc meeting, if it's in the evening, yes. I won't be at chairs, so just count me in and just let me know the day and time. Thank you. And thank you. Welcome to Derek.
Thank you. Well, we thought we were almost done, didn't we, folks?
Nope, we didn't.
Is there any more on this particular issue? Or any other new business? Okay, in that case, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move, Rickett.
All right. Did you, Clerk Scott? Yes. You're on mute.
Mute.
We can't hear you, Kathy.
There you go. Now you can hear me. Motions for reconsideration is on the agenda and an item.
Do we have anything under reconsiderations?
No.
Thank you for keeping me honest. Okay, now I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, Ricketts.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? All right. We're all done, folks. Thank you. And we'll all be in touch at our next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night, everyone.